This is 13 Minutes. I'm Elliot Reeves. My guest today is Sarah-Jayne Lee. Sarah-Jayne, it's brilliant to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's lovely to have you here. I was saying to you, I've watched quite a lot of your YouTube videos and followed your content for a while, so I'm looking forward to this.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah.
So if we can start with the easiest question first, I suppose, who is Sarah-Jayne Lee?
Who is Sarah-Jayne Lee? So I am, I'll give you a rough sort of overview of my background. I'm an Essex girl, born and bred. Had what you would call a normal upbringing, or what you consider a normal upbringing. Went through a spiritual awakening about 7 years ago, and now my life purpose is a light worker. So I basically help people through their awakening process. And that is, I'm a healer, I'm a spiritual teacher and mentor, and a light worker in general.
Fantastic. Obviously, we've got sort of limited time, and I imagine that your awakening process was a gradual one. But how did that unfold?
It started with mental health. Yeah.
Okay.
And mental health, and this is why sometimes it's, you know, I do draw people that are going through, issues with mental health to me, when really it's actually they're going through a spiritual awakening. What happens with a spiritual awakening is we do sort of fall apart in a way, because the old self is dying in a way, for a new self to sort of come in. And in order for that to happen, it's uncomfortable and there's a lot of discomfort, and so it all started with me with challenges around mental health, and I was using things like alcohol to try and control things, etc. So I went on quite a journey, and you could consider there was some dark patches in that journey as well, and obviously anyone that's experienced mental health issues, etc., like that. I sort of turned to spiritual practices and changed my life.
That's awesome. How have you been managing yourself throughout this whole lockdown period?
See, this is an interesting one, because I've kind of surrendered in this lockdown period, because when you do the inner work, I'm a strong believer of what your outside world is a reflection of what is going on in the inside. And to do the inner work, sometimes it's quite difficult, and you need time to reflect. You need time to go easy with yourself. You need time to be compassionate with yourself after. And obviously, as a sort of a healing perspective, if you're told that you can't leave the house for a couple of months, I think, okay, well, I'm just going to seize the opportunity to really go within and work on some of my core wounding that I still hold within my field. I sort of just deepened the relationship with myself, paid more attention to what I wanted, more self-love, and giving towards myself, really, which is quite rare to have that amount of time to focus on yourself. So it's actually been really refreshing, and I'm not the only one doing that as well. I know a lot of people have sort of connected more within.
So how then do you define inner work, and what does that entail for you?
So if I have an overreaction to something, and we all react in different ways to things, don't we? And it can be from a post on social media. You can get a triggering of anger, or especially if I had one, for example, that I felt like I was getting told what to do by someone and it was a post, and really it's my own wounding that makes me overreact in that way. That anger is a wounding that is being triggered from a past. I'm not reacting there with the present moment, I'm reacting to the past. And what you do is you go within and trace that feeling. Where does that come from? Where does that feeling come from? So it's all based on and this is proven by science now. You can actually follow the work of Bruce Lipton. That time is not linear. So it's the past is still happening. So what happens is we all experience trauma in the past, and the definition of trauma is not being able to or an event being so overwhelming that we can't process it there and then. So it doesn't have to be anything, overly what people consider traumatic. To a 4 or 5-year-old child, losing a teddy bear could be a traumatic experience to that child. So most of how we react to things are actually embedded in us, and the choices and the beliefs we install in ourselves from the age of under 6. So it's all about tracing that back to find out where that come from and releasing that emotion, so then you will no longer react in that way. If that makes sense. I know that's quite hard.
It like logically makes perfect sense. I guess the tracing back to the root of the problem can probably be the greatest challenge.
Yeah, and I must admit, it's before I was a healer myself. I obviously used to reach out for help from healers to do this, healers, teachers, spiritual mentors, etc. So I must admit, it would take some practice to do, but if people, once you learn how to do it, it actually becomes quite easy. If I'm honest, and anyone can do it, but it's just more the process of the feeling and really surrendering and letting yourself go there. That's really the main block. People don't want to go there, do they? So they'd rather go and watch TV or go on social media, and that feeling, we'll just try and suppress it, and we don't want to look at that. So it's, I still do it myself. I was doing it with coffee not long ago, and I was drinking about 5 cups of coffee a day, and I knew what I was doing, but I just didn't want to face the feelings at that point. I wasn't ready. So I think it's more as well the surrendering and the willingness to say I'm willing to look at this now. I'm willing to see what this is and where this is coming from.
Yes, yeah, that's big. So how do you think the world might start to change as a result of what's happening just now?
I think people's lifestyles will change. I think that a lot of people have had a lot of time to think about their lives and reflect. A lot, obviously, where we was only allowed out to walk in nature, a lot more people have been connecting with nature, which I think is like massive within itself to someone's mental health and how they connect with themselves and the world. And people are starting to reflect and say, you know what, I am enjoying more life with the family. Maybe life isn't about working in an office 9 till 5 and doing the rat race thing. And obviously, there's a lot more questioning going on as well, which I like. I mean, I'm not here to obviously talk about any theories or anything like that, but I just like the fact that people are questioning now and wanting to maybe think a bit more for themselves rather than what everyone's told. And I think that's very important as well.
In what way would you most like to see the world change?
I would like to see the world change in people's lifestyles, to be honest, and what I've sort of previously said. I'd like to see more light workers as well, because I think there's more and more people awakening. And there's going to be a lot more need for a lot more light workers. I believe what's going on in the world at the moment is connected to a greater plan and a greater awakening. More light workers and more people just doing what they love, what they enjoy, and finding more of their purpose.
Light workers, a term that I've heard quite a lot. I never quite fully understood what it means. To me, it actually just symbolizes somebody that's true to themselves and will shine their own light in the world to bring other people out the darkness, I guess. I don't know how you see that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think this is one of those things where it's the definition of what you feel it is, you know. That's a lovely way you explained it, to be honest. And for the way I see it is, I'm doing, and I don't really, I'm not a sort of biblical person, but I say the word God or universe or source.
Yeah.
I believe in a higher power much greater than me. And it's a power of love. and it's doing God's work, it's doing the universe's work, and it's allowing that power to work through me. When I'm healing someone, I'm not healing them. There's a higher power that's working through me, and they are healing themselves. I'm just a facilitator in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. What advice or insight would you give to anyone that was struggling just now?
I would say there is a quote, and I don't know who says it, so you'll have to forgive me about that, but it's your wounds are your wisdom. And I would say if you are struggling, I mean, I could talk about this for a long time, so I'm going to try and sort of make it a short version of what I think. But I would say you're either working from a place of fear or love. And if you are struggling, you've gone into the place of fear. And fear is an illusion. So if you think you're not good enough, it's an illusion. If you think that you are uncared for, that is an illusion. If you think you're unprovided for, that's an illusion. So what we need to do is turn to love, and then you will see that it's an illusion. So it's the wounding, it's your wounding that makes it an illusion. So if you can go to your wounds, more or less what we were talking about earlier, and release those wounds, then you won't have to carry that burden anymore. Does that make sense? Sometimes I'm talking and I think, I don't know if I'm making sense to people. But...
You make perfect sense. It's how people interpret what you're saying, I guess, is the maybe the difficulty. I hear what you're saying. I believe I understand what you're saying. I expected that you would say something like seeking gratitude, like looking for ways.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's one of those, and see, I believe in getting to the root of stuff, and I believe gratitude is important. Being able to change your vibration is important. Where you put your energy is important. But if you're still covering up the wounds, they're always going to materialize at some point. So if you go to the root, then you take it out and you don't have to deal with that no more. It doesn't come back. So that's not even in your field. Yeah, that trauma isn't there. So if it's never there, you're never going to have to cover it up with gratitude lists. You're never going to have to say 50 affirmations a day. So, you know, it's true, but I'm nothing against gratitude lists and affirmations, because I do those things myself. But it's when to do that, and it's when to know where there's some deep work that needs to be done, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I totally take that on board. It makes a lot of sense. This has been awesome. Honestly, I could speak to you for hours, but where can people find you?
You can find me. My website is sarah-jaynelee.com. And that's Jane with a Y. I'll say that because everyone makes that mistake. And I'm on YouTube, and it's just Sarah-Jayne Lee on YouTube.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, as I say, this has been so much fun. I've loved speaking with you, Sarah-Jayne. And yeah, I'm sure we'll speak again at some stage.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And
Thank you.
Stay safe and look after yourself.
Brilliant. Thank you, Elliot. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.